Last week we discussed the very cold weather pattern that was developing over the European continent. Then, we didn't have many clues whether it will last longer or not. The updated weather models indicate a change towards a more typical configuration for the ending of the week. As the blocking anticyclone descends from the polar region, the large-scale atmospheric circulation over Europe is gradually attempting to return toward a more typical configuration. Even so, the residual effects of the prolonged dominance of high pressure will continue to influence the weather, and this transition toward a more mobile pattern will be slow and incremental rather than abrupt. The polar air mass, advected southward from high latitudes, will be progressively displaced by newly forming cyclonic systems, initially from Western Europe toward Eastern Europe, then toward the northeastern sector of the continent, and eventually back toward the polar regions, completing a full redistribution cycle. During Sunday, polar air will continue to flow across the British Isles, and this persistent advection will sustain below-average temperatures along with intermittent, convective-type precipitation. Nighttime temperatures will frequently fall below the freezing threshold, causing precipitation to oscillate between rain and snow, with widespread freezing rain, glaze ice, and hazardous surface conditions becoming increasingly likely. In France, the gradual accumulation of polar air will result in widespread snowfall through Thursday, further increasing the snowpack already present in the eastern parts of the country. From Friday onward, the cold air mass will begin to retreat towards Central and Eastern Europe, allowing surface temperatures to rise back above freezing in western regions. The eastward displacement of the polar air mass will also lead to periodic snowfall across parts of Germany, although overall accumulations are expected to remain modest. At the same time, very low temperatures will dominate large portions of Central Europe, including Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, as well as Switzerland, Austria, and northern Italy, where persistent cold will maintain wintry conditions. Beginning Thursday, a milder Atlantic air mass, transported inland by active cyclonic systems, will advance from the west and gradually force the colder air eastward. This transition is climatologically typical during the breakdown of blocked circulation patterns, as maritime air masses penetrate the continent and polar air retreats poleward. The influence of this polar air mass will also extend into southern Europe, where Spain will experience both snowfall and rainfall early in the week. From there, the cold air will reach the Mediterranean basin, creating favorable conditions for the development of several Mediterranean cyclones. These systems will cross the sea and generate a notable snowfall episode along the Adriatic coastline, before continuing their trajectory toward Eastern Europe. Countries including Croatia, Serbia, Hungary, Romania, and Ukraine will be affected by these Mediterranean cyclones, which are expected to produce widespread snowfall, but also periods of rain, depending on local thermal profiles, as shown in the accompanying imagery. Temperatures will decline sharply with the passage of the cold core air mass, before recovering to above-average levels starting Saturday, as milder air returns. A major concern throughout this period will be the formation of freezing rain and ice, which are likely to occur across large areas, significantly increasing the risk of travel disruptions. Mixed precipitation is also forecast across Bulgaria, Turkey, and even Greece, where rain and snow are expected to develop beginning Thursday, particularly in elevated regions. With much of the European continent affected by a highly variable and unstable winter regime marked by snowfall, freezing rain, and sharp temperature fluctuations, the only region displaying a distinctly different pattern remains Scandinavia. The export of cold air toward lower latitudes has resulted in its accumulation within Europe's only subpolar region. Consequently, the Scandinavian peninsula is experiencing an exceptionally severe winter period, with temperatures dropping to around -30°C, a deep and persistent snow cover, and subfreezing conditions even during daytime hours. Looking forward, Atlantic-driven circulation is expected to temporarily regain influence, introducing a more maritime character to Europe's weather. However, structural weaknesses within the polar vortex are likely to re-emerge toward the end of January, increasing the probability of another cold air outbreak affecting Europe later in the winter season. We are a young team passionate about climatology and global circulation patterns. This analysis and the other ones you find on our channel are our own work. We are trying to grow a community, so, if you are interested and you like our style, we would appreciate if you would leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.